One moment, your life, everything you know, comes to an abrupt halt. Within just a few minutes, the world and rules you once knew collapse. It is precisely at this point that a story begins, a story where innocence ends and humanity faces its ultimate test. Han Jong-sun and his sister Ju-young were living an ordinary day when their lives tragically took an unexpected turn. This is not just a story of abduction. It is a tale of rebellion against a system, a brutal narrative of how a life can be turned upside down. Set against the grim backdrop of South Korea's dark alleys, this story echoes the profound themes of Squid Game. This is not just the story of a lost life, but also an account of a society crushed under oppression, where people are pitted against each other and pain spreads to every corner. When Han Jong-sun and his sister went missing one morning, it wasn't just a personal tragedy. Their disappearance symbolized the merciless workings of a system, showing how control was maintained at the expense of humanity. What I'm about to share with you today is not merely fiction, because if we begin to understand the dark world behind Squid Game, we might realize how eerily similar it is to the life we live today. Today, we will uncover just how frighteningly real life has been influenced by the dark world of Squid Game. Stay tuned, because by the end of the video, you will find yourself questioning the very limits of humanity. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join us in unraveling this epic story. In the 1990s, South Korea appeared to be on the brink of an economic breakthrough. But in reality, the lower classes of society were burdened with strict rules, despair, and oppression. Just like in Squid Game, survival often meant being strong, while the weak were trampled upon. This hierarchy permeated every layer of society. The strong suppressed the weak in every way possible. No one was truly free. Everyone was merely a part of the game. People sent to concentration camps had to compete against one another to survive, much like the players in Squid Game. In these camps, survival came at the cost of losing one's humanity. Their every move was monitored, and their every word was controlled. Here, survival depended on overpowering others. The psychological torment in the camps, much like the adversarial dynamics in Squid Game, turned into a game. The weak were crushed under the dominance of the strong. Han Jong-sun and his sister were also victims of this system. One morning, they were taken away under the cover of darkness. Much like in Squid Game, their struggle for survival in the camp began. But there was a key difference. The game here wasn't just about winning, it was designed to completely strip a person of their identity. Han Jong-sun and Ju-young's crime wasn't stealing bread, even though they were forced by the police to confess to it. But just like in Squid Game, their true crime was posing a threat to the system itself. The police manipulated their charges, ensuring that public opinion turned against them. They stole bread, they said, but in truth, this accusation was just a facade. The game was designed to prevent them from surviving. The system had labeled them as dangerous, and the game had begun. In Squid Game, the players competed against one another to find their place in society, sometimes killing to secure their own survival. Similarly, the people in the camp betrayed one another just to stay alive. Who were the real culprits? The police or the people? No one truly knew, and no one dared to ask. Zhang's son and his sister tried to survive under horrific conditions, relying on no one but each other. Like the players in Squid Game, they faced death at every turn. The people around them could become part of the game at any moment. Those who did not follow the rules set by the powerful lost their lives. As in Squid Game, the rules were ruthlessly enforced and the weak were eliminated. Surviving in the camp wasn't just a physical battle. It was a psychological war. Zhang's son and his sister, like the players in Squid Game, could only trust each other. The merciless games played by the people in the camp were nothing more than a fight for survival. Everyone acted with the intent to win. A momentary victory often meant the end for someone else. Every day, they had to take one step further. But it was clear where this journey would end. At some point, everyone would turn against one another to prevail. However, there was one difference. The competitions in Squid Game were more structured. One game would end and another would begin. But in the camp, death was ever present and losses occurred constantly. Zhang's son eventually managed to escape the camp. But the cost of survival was incredibly high. Much like in Squid Game, escaping the camp wasn't a victory, but merely a transition. Even when they returned to the real world, they would still have to fight against the system's oppression. The players in Squid Game, much like Zhang Sun and Zhu Yung, were treated as mere chess pieces in the game of survival. This drama wasn't just a personal tragedy, but also the story of a rebellion against a societal system. On one side was a hierarchy that mercilessly enforced its rules, and on the other, people fighting for freedom from the dominance of the powerful. But perhaps the real question is this: what does the title Squid Game truly symbolize? The name reflects a universe where everything has become a game. Rules are ruthlessly applied, and people fight each other to survive. However, this reality, much like the abduction of Han Zhang's son and his sister, was once real. In a world where everything becomes a game, aren't we all just trying to survive in our little games every day? Was the title Squid Game inspired by such tragic realities? Perhaps the relentless struggles in the game are a metaphor for the system that pits people against each other, drawing inspiration from many of South Korea's painful events. And maybe the title Squid Game symbolized the ruthless hierarchy and social injustice that played out in cases like the abduction of Zhang's son and his sister. In these events, just as in Squid Game, lives were turned into a game. If you want to see more in-depth explorations of these truths, subscribe to our channel and like this video. Stay with us to uncover the realities behind these dramas.